Hello, so today I'm going to go over an 820-2915 board that has no Wi-Fi. I'm going to go over what is a very common fault in the Unibody machines from 2011 and onwards when you have no Wi-Fi. Now, just to preface, if you have no Wi-Fi on the older machines, 99% of the time, you're going to notice that a little piece of tape is missing. So Apple likes to put these little pieces of foam on top of things that are made of metal. So inside of a computer, which has a lot of components that are made of metal of some type that can short easily if you put metal right near them, they like to put little metal pads. Why is beyond me, truly beyond me. I think it's just to fuck with people and make them fuck up their repairs. But that's above and beyond my pay grade. So one of the things that you're going to notice is that the pad that goes right on top of the Wi-Fi connector is there, but the little piece of tape that's supposed to be there is not, and that's going to cause a lot of fuck-ups. Now what happens on the newer ones, the ones that have this type of connector over here, let me show you on this 2915 based motherboard, my favorite motherboard. See this thing? Let's see if I can get a zoom on it. See if I can hold a computer like this without dropping it. Alright, so the ones with this board is that there's an inductor that's fucked up. So let me show you what that looks like here. So, yeah, alright. Let's try to get a good look. So here's the tweezers. Alright, I did just pull the battery because I have a dead hard drive in here, so I don't give a shit if I kill it. So see this? Alright. So see this right here? We're going to replace that inductor because 99% of the time it's dead. Again, in this case, I know that I truly don't even have to measure it to know that it's the issue, but I'm going to measure it anyway just for the hell of it, since I said that I really haven't lived up to my promise of doing some more live repairs on this channel. So let's get the multimeter within live view. And let's, actually, you know what? It might actually just be easier if I use the oscilloscope. I have such a wiring mess over here. Like, seriously, it's shameful. Alright, so let's plug this in. Now, also, I should show you on the big screen here. Now, the big screen's going to look a little bit more messed up than it did before because my other cable got ripped up by my cat. So I actually have an HDMI display port. Alright, so I'm not sure how long I was talking to myself there for, but anyway, I'm up to the point where I'm going to replace that inductor. I truly don't know how long I was actually talking to myself, so I'm just going to go over some of what my thought process was. So when I originally measured this before I went to grab my camera, I saw 3.3 volts on one side of the inductor for Wi-Fi, but I did not see it on the other side. So then, as soon as I took the Wi-Fi card off, I saw 3.3 volts on both sides. So my going theory is that this inductor that I'm about to replace here is destroyed, and because it's destroyed, it is not allowing the power to go through when the Wi-Fi card itself is connected, so it's not able to handle that load. And since it looks like shit around it, as you can see, it does look like garbage around it. Like this is nasty. I do believe that I have a chance of being right. So what I did is I put Captain tape around the Wi-Fi connector because I don't have those hot tweezers that I really should have by now. Again, you can get away with not having hot tweezers for laptop board repair. If I did cell phone board repair, I would not be able to get away with that. So what Captain tape is this heat-resistant tape that allows me to heat things up without heating up the things that are around them. So when I'm doing this with a hot air station, what I do is I have a lot of air and very low air. I have a lot of heat but very low airflow. So the idea here is to heat the component a lot with very low air so it doesn't really get under that Wi-Fi connector and mess it up. So, but the only thing is it's hard. It stresses the iron itself to do that, especially with these larger, high, our models. Like again, if you have something like the I would say the HAKKO 851, I think the 851 is the right model that I should be thinking of. Yeah, like that's a very small one. So on that one, you can get away with having the airflow very low and the heat high because it's not really a powerful one. But this one is a fairly powerful one, so when you have the air very low, it winds up destroying the heating element, which is not a good thing. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking a capacitor off of a board that is totally dead. So my Zoma machine here that gets used for replacing graphics chips and other ball grid array components, it crashed right into a board in the middle of a profile. I mean, like, just for no reason, just went gonk. It damn near put a hole right through the friggin' board. So that board itself is, I would say, useless. That the connector itself it did not get damaged right next to whatever it is you're soldering, and you also want to look to see that the component just snaps into place. When it snaps into place, you know you did a good job. Now, as I was saying when I was probably talking to myself earlier, it's often a common goal to make sure that, like, to test one thing at a time. So if, for example, I'm replacing that inductor, the average technician would not try a different Wi-Fi card and cable. Now, before I started doing this, I tested another Wi-Fi card and cable, and it did not work. That's how I knew that the problem was board related. That's how I knew that the problem had to have been on the motherboard. So now the thing is, what I don't know is if that Wi-Fi card and cable caused my inductor to blow. So right now, what my main interest is in figuring out if what I did actually fixed anything. So I don't want to let anything in the circuit that may undo what I did, because then I won't get to answer that question. So conventional wisdom is to test one thing at a time. What I want to do is I like to fix as many things I can at one time. Again, because, like, for example, let's say I fixed the backlight circuitry on a board. I never plugged the original screen in with it, because what if the original screen caused it to blow? I'll plug in a different screen. And then afterwards, I'll plug in the original one, and then at least I know I'm working with a working circuit. And then I can see with the old screen if the old screen had caused the issue. But I don't want to plug that thing in originally, because it's just going to cause me nightmares and misery. I want to see, the question that I want to answer above all else right now with great impatience is, did the repair that I do actually do anything? So what I said I was going to do is plug in a different card, and I just plugged this one in, and I was just about to turn it on. Jesus Christ. Wow. That is some next level stupidity on my part. Alright, it seems like the recording issue is actually fixed. So it seems like that was actually caused by me deciding to use this program to record through a Matroska container, however you pronounce it, instead of an AVI one. Which is weird, because I'm recording X264 video. I mean, I don't like using AVI because it's just a shitty video container all around. It became a standard because everybody used it, which is just the dumbest reason to use anything anyway. It's like everybody uses MP3. You should use it even though it's the only codec, the only real codec that you'll find that's not gapless. It's just, I always like to use stuff that's actually good. But this works, and if for whatever reason that's causing it to freeze, I'm not going to deal with it. And I'm also not going to try to figure out what it is, because that is truly of low priority in life and of low consequence to me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to boot this up with a different drive, because I am tired of waiting for the test drive that I have in here with the bad sectors in the drive to boot up. And I'm going to test it on my drive. But it actually went to sleep with the test drive I had in there. Oh dear God, this is going to be forever. Since it has bad sectors, I don't care. I'm just going to turn it off anyway. And force it to turn on with my drive. Let's see if I have Wi-Fi. So I have this other card plugged in with a different cable. Let's see what we got. Let's see what we've got. Wish me luck. I have one partition of this disk that is solely dedicated to FurMark, so I turned off the screensaver. I've turned off all the power saving functions, the energy saver, everything, so I can just sit it on the desk and run FurMark to torture the GPU. I wonder if I should do that to this one, since it's a 2915 board. I'm probably going to clean the heatsink off and put the new thermal paste on there, since it's a 2915. What I use here is this Tunic TX4 stuff. In addition to reading reviews, I actually did buy some of the best thermal paste to see how they perform. Because some of those thermal pastes in those reviews, they get good reviews, but they literally measure 10 Celsius worse than this in real-world use. And in the review, it's 1C different. And after a lot of usage, I figured out that this Tunic TX4, it's 13 bucks for a really small tube, but it's really good stuff. It works amazingly well. Amazingly well. So I see little waves in the upper right corner of the screen, which leads me to believe that what I did actually fix something. Because again, in the beginning, I tried a new Wi-Fi card in here and it didn't do jack shit. I'm also going to open up the schematic and explain everything again because I honestly don't know how much of the video didn't show up. So I'm going to explain what I was doing to find out that there was a Wi-Fi issue and explain how I found it in the schematic. Because again, I don't know when the video stopped recording. I'm not going to start from scratch and go over all this crap again. Because as soon as I'm done with this, I'm getting out of here and going the fuck home. If this is channel, honestly, if this channel winds up getting like 500,000 subscribers, where people all over the world are watching it, and I'm getting, you know, and I have a staff of like 40 more people off of all the business that it got, I'll make an honest, concentrated effort to make these videos more professional. But for now, while this is being done in my spare time, I am totally cool with this just being, you know, if something fucks up, I just explain it again, or I trip over the cable, you know, I just edit around it. Because, you know, as I said, you kind of test out these ideas to see if they work. And in the beginning, you don't really want to go nuts testing out an idea. So as you can see here, I have one Wi-Fi network I can see, which is mine, because I don't have the antenna plugged in. So let me try to put this on the table without unplugging anything and zoom in with the camera so you can see that I have Wi-Fi. So you can see, it's only one network. But, yeah, let's do that. I got one network over here, which is mine, because again, I didn't bother plugging the antenna in. But before, this thing said no Wi-Fi hardware. So the next thing that I'm going to do is plug in his Wi-Fi card and see if it blows the inductor. I'm truly hoping that his Wi-Fi card didn't blow the inductor, because then I'll be redoing this work. Honestly, I'd rather solder another inductor than take this Wi-Fi card out. It's taped in here and screwed into the bottom of this miserable mess. Taking this out really sucks. I know I'm kind of complaining and whining about shit, but let me show you what I mean. You see this whole bullshit over here? The way that these wires go in here, again, I'm one of those people who, I can do a lot of really cool, amazing, high-level shit, but when it comes to basics, like people bring a hard drive in for data recovery, right? So they'll bring a drive in for data recovery. I can never get the drive back in the box, and I can never open the box without destroying it. It's just one of those things that I'm just not good at, and everybody here gets a big kick out of laughing at me with. If you give me retail packaging and you open it and you tell me, put this back in so that it can be returned, I just can't do it. It's a stupid flaw that I have, but it's just something that is what it is, you know. It's a flaw. So I can never do that kind of stuff right. And this, honestly, again, fixing a board, troubleshooting a dead board, I got that. That ain't nothing but a thing at this point. But like this, like getting these little wires all back into their nice little respective places and lining them up, it's just, I could sit here for an hour doing that crap, and it's just not going to be the way it was before. It's just not something that I'm good at. So let's see what we got here. I'm also, by the way, 2915 boards, they always turn on and turn right off. It's a real pain in the ass, but they all seem to do that, and I never kind of understood why. I think it's the board's way of telling you that it knows that it sucks. So let's make sure I'm still recording, because again, I don't trust this setup. Truly do not trust this setup. So this is as I've explained before, this is a dual-core laptop CPU in a machine that does not have a dedicated graphics chip that is recording 2 high-definition X264 streams in real time. So God help that computer. And it does look like it's actually recording properly, so I'm guessing that recording in Matroska was something that that VLC was protesting. Again, why is beyond me, but is what it is. I really can't complain too much about free software when it doesn't work properly. I honestly prefer to pay for things like that. You know, I mean, I prefer to pay for stuff where because when you pay, you have the right to bitch. Like my salesman, he loves giving people small things and saying leave a tip, Because we did something real, so you got to kind of leave 20 bucks or else you're a dick, but you can't refund a tip, you know what I mean? And it's kind of like his way of taking the money but taking away somebody's ability to complain or whine. It doesn't always work. I've given away free screen protectors and people have had trouble applying them. Not the cheap shit, something good, and they actually complain about the free screen protector, which is why I don't do that anymore. Alright, probably should have put my hand over the customer name. So when I walked out there to get the other Wi-Fi card, I also swapped the customer drive in place of mine. And I don't have a little waveform over there. Sucks. So which means that something is messed up. So now I'm going to boot into my operating system and see if I have Wi-Fi. It would be some shit if this Wi-Fi card blew my inductor. That would suck. So let's boot into my operating system. Alrighty. Oh joy, my operating system is not showing up on this list anymore. So when you hold down Option, it'll actually show you all of the drives and all the partitions available. And my partition that I just booted into is not here. You know why that's happening? Do you know why that's happening? Because I'm recording a live video. Because I'm recording a live video. Okay, so let me get another drive and be right back. You see how this becomes such a pain in the ass? It's like sometimes I get lazy and I say, I'm not going to do a video for this repair. And I feel lazy and I feel like shit and I feel like I did a bad thing. But then it's like some stupid shit, like some stupid crap like this happens and it makes me realize why I kind of don't always put the camera up. Like seriously, and this happens all the time, by the way. And it's something that I should explain. You got to get used to. So Apple uses a partition type called HFS+. So Windows machines use NTFS. Linux machines, 99.9% of the time, use ext3 or ext4 for basic stuff. And Linux and Macs use HFS+. HFS+ is dog shit. It is garbage. I mean, software companies, like the company that makes Disk Warrior, they make their living. They make their living off of one piece of software. And this one piece of software does nothing. I mean, nothing at all but repair the HFS+ partitions that are corrupted, because they go corrupt so often. And the thing is, it's just a crappy partition scheme. I can't scientifically tell you from a computer science standpoint why they suck, but I know that they suck. It truly does corrupt for no reason, and it makes people think that their drive is dead when it's not. It's one of those things about Apple that makes life really easy for repair people. So like, one of the things that I tell you about is that on other computers, the keyboard circuitry is separate from the power button. Whereas on Apple computers, the keyboard circuitry and the power button are on the same thing. So that when you fuck up your keyboard, let's say you get a drop of water in your function key, it also kills the power button. Okay, so I got no Wi-Fi in this OS either. Lame. The whole thing is, like, people will think that their computer is dead when it's actually just a keyboard. People think that their hard drive is dead when it's just a partition. It's like Apple engineers these devices. They engineer them to assist corrupt repair people in ripping off the customer. They really do, because again, they make it so easy to do that. Like, they have a question mark folder and the FAQs on their own website say that is usually a drive issue, and most of the time it's a partition issue because HFS+ is a steaming pile of shit. And it's the same thing with the keyboard. Like, they'll say motherboard, and when you go to the store, when you go to the Apple store, 99% of the time they don't even bother shorting SMC reset L to ground to see if your computer will turn on. They don't do that. They tell you, like, it's water, 750, motherboard will replace everything. They tell you to go fuck yourself, pretty much, is what you get. They just tell you to go fuck yourself. And so they make it so easy. And anyway, so yeah, that drive, I'm going to fix that partition easy. That's obviously a good drive. That's a drive that I just pulled that's pretty much new. I'm 99.9% certain that drive is fine. It's just the partition died just because it decided to die. Like, it's that fucking unreliable. Which is why it truly kills me when people go, I don't use PCs because Macs are more reliable. Macs are more stable. No, they're not. My ext4 partition has not died once in 6 years. I never turn my computer off properly. I mean never actually go to, log to the menu, go log out, go shut down. No, I hold the power button or I rip the battery out. You can turn a Mac off properly every day. You can be so nice to it. And that HFS Plus partition will just fucking die and become incurably corrupt for no reason. Again, are there companies out there making hundreds of thousands of dollars off of consumers to fix ext4 partitions? No, because they just work. But HFS Plus, this is one of the many reasons I can't use an Apple computer. I don't want to use it. Like, my computer is fucking up because it has a slow processor, and I am using it to record 2 HD video streams at the same time while doing other crap. Like, I get why it fucks up. I forgive it for that. But when you fuck up just powering on and powering off for no reason, and that's the other thing, this is a $2,000, $2,700 machine. This Lenovo is a $600 piece of shit. And I like Lenovo, but I did pay $600 for that laptop, which means it has to be a piece of shit because I paid $600 for it. Alright, so this is dead, no Wi-Fi, which means that that inductor probably exploded again as a result of me plugging the old Wi-Fi card. So you see why I did that the way I did it? Do you understand why I did everything the way I did it? I did that the way I did it because I wanted to know. So if I plugged that old Wi-Fi card in again, I would have had to replace the inductor again, but I would have not had confidence in what I was doing. Now that I know that that thing works, now that I know for a fact that with a new Wi-Fi card and a new cable that it works, I am in a state of confidence. And that's a very, very important thing when you're doing this work, is you need to be in a state of confidence. You need to feel like what I'm doing is working, I'm making progress, I'm getting somewhere. Because again, when you're looking at that 70-page schematic, when you're looking at that 70 pages of shit, I should zoom out so you're not just staring at my damn table. When you're looking at that 70 pages of shit, you have to feel like you own it. You have to feel like you're getting somewhere, because if you don't, it's very, very easy to become discouraged. And when you become discouraged, your brain stops working properly. I don't have proof of it. I don't have studies on it, but I just feel like when I become discouraged, my IQ goes down. My analytical thinking goes to shit. My problem solving becomes less robust, and that's not what you want to have happen. You want your problem solving, you want your game to be at top level, and that's where I'm hoping to stay at. So that's why when I solve a problem, I want to get rid of everything in front of it that may cause that problem to reoccur, so I can confirm to myself that I fixed it. Again, I know I'm going to start sounding like some kind of therapist or motivational speaker, but mindset is everything when you're doing this. When you're trying to learn something, when you're trying to learn something new, and there's nobody out there to teach it to you, and there's no resources there to help you, like with this kind of motherboard repair, you don't want to become discouraged, because it will fuck up the entire process. And you won't learn anything, and you won't get anywhere. So it's very, very important to me to set up these basic systems so that I can make sure I'm encouraged at all times. And one of the other things that I do very, very often, I leave on a success. If it takes me until 2 in the morning to get a success, I leave at 2 in the morning. If I planned on leaving at 8, but I hit a great amount of successes at 7, I just leave at 7. I try to end every day on a success. I go home knowing that I did something right. I leave and I go out with other people just knowing that I did a good job. I don't like leaving. I don't like ending the day on a bunch of failures and a bunch of no fixes and a bunch of I don't know why the fuck this didn't work the way it's supposed to. I won't spend my whole day banging my head against the wall on one job. I don't want you to think that I'm going to stay until I figure that one thing out, because that is a very, very bad habit to get into, and it's something that I'll talk about in a later video. But one of the things that I don't do is leave the day on a failure. I always leave my day on a success. I always leave this place with success. All right, so back to the microscope and onto another board to steal an inductor from. I already stole the inductor from you. I did not steal the inductor from you. Surprisingly, I've stolen everything else from you. My dead board section is looking really, really crappy. I mean, it's been getting shittier and shittier, but I mean, I steal so much stuff from these dead boards that I have. It's like, I'm surprised there's anything left. I mean, some of these boards are at a point where there's seriously more stolen components than working components. Alrighty, so let's just... I usually add leaded solder to make it easier to remove the component, but I forgot that since I already replaced this chip that there is no lead-free solder on it. So I was just being an idiot there by adding new solder when I clearly did not have to. Yeah, so you see how much easier it is? So remember how hard it was in the beginning? I don't know if you were actually able to see that because the video fucked up, but removing that in the beginning was a pain in the ass. But with leaded solder, it's like, dink! Just comes right off. And now you may be thinking that's why leaded solder is bad. That's why you should use lead-free solder. There's another video that I have here where I'm showing you just how shitty the lead-free solder is. Like, you touch it, you poke it. I poke that shit with my tweezers and I'm destroying it. I poke it with a multimeter probe and I destroy it. And the leaded solder doesn't. So leaded solder comes off easy when you want it to come off and does not come off when you try to damage it. Lead-free solder never comes off when you want it to. As you can see right now, I'm skull-fucking this thing with heat and it refuses to come off. But lead-free solder will always fuck up when you don't want it to, when you just poke at it. And when you're heating it to actually remove a component, it never wants to move. But when you you touch it the wrong way, then it'll get destroyed and blah. I'm being very careful here because I'm right next to this connector. That's not moving into place the way I like it. You know why it's not moving into place the way I want it to? Because I got that Captain tape there. I just let the broken board fall to the ground. I put a little bit too much Captain tape on this time. So that didn't go on there as perfectly as I would have liked. Blah. Remember how I told you not to be a perfectionist? And you see how I'm being a perfectionist when it's 2 in the morning. I'm not setting a good example, am I? I'm setting a terrible example, actually, because I'm doing what I tell you not to. Doing exactly what I tell you not to do. Being a perfectionist. Okay. That could have been much better. That's not neat. I'm going to be on some do as I say, not as I do with this. When you do this, you really should just buy hot tweezers. Just buy hot tweezers. So that, again, the first one of these that I did came out perfect. The second one I did, not so perfect. Again, the thing with the hot tweezers, for me not buying them, it's really not that I'm a cheap bum. Because when it comes to tools and when it comes to work, I'm not a cheap bum. I'm not. What it comes down to is I'm at the end of the day and I'm at the end of the job and I'm like, man, I really want to buy hot tweezers. And then I'm like, yeah, I really want to get that cab ride home. And then when I get home, it's, yeah, I really want to go to sleep. And the hot tweezers never get bought. It's that kind of thing. You understand? And then the next day, I have such a list of crap I have to do that I just kind of forget about it. And this has been about 5 or 6 years in the making now. So it's been about 5 or 6 years that I've been putting off this whole buying hot tweezers thing. Hot tweezers are tweezers that get hot. So you can solder chips with them, you can remove things with them. The whole idea is that you don't have to apply hot air where you have to worry about boiling and burning connectors. The whole idea with hot tweezers is that you can simply, deal with components like that and add and remove them instantly instead of dealing with the hot air. And that component doesn't look, now the thing is, again, I know that component doesn't look perfect, and I am probably actually going to wind up fixing it after I redo the video. But just for scientific purposes, if the component is sticking up off the board, that's not that good because it's easier to knock off. So since it's further away from the board, it's further away from the actual solder, and there's space between it and the board, which gives you more leverage to push it off. But if it's close to the board, even if it's a little crooked, it's good. So that one, again, I know that is a good solder connection, and I know that you're not knocking that shit off the board for anything. So that's not really what my worry is. So if you do something like that, I'm not saying that you should aim to do work that isn't perfect, but you're fine. You really are fine. And I just plugged the original Wi-Fi card in. Did you see what I was just about to do? All right, so we're going to plug this Wi-Fi card in. Plug this in. Now, usually I would try with my operating system before his because I want to just make sure that it works within mine. But a Wi-Fi card can kill an inductor, right? An operating system is not going to kill an inductor. So I'm cool trying it again with his OS to see if I'm done. Alrighty. Wait for this to boot. Let's wait for this to boot. See how much battery I got. I have enough battery that I don't have to plug it in. Excellent. So while I'm waiting for this to boot, I might as well go over the cause of the problem in the television. Again, I'm not sure how much of the video got cut off before or how much you missed. This isn't going to look that great because one of my cables died, which means I'm stuck on 1080p. So my cat likes to fuck with this cable, and again, while I do spend money on things for work that are important when it comes to my personal life, I am so cheap that I'm actually carrying a DisplayPort to HDMI cable back and forth between work and here. And it's a cool looking one that I had. It was a really cool looking one, so my cat liked to destroy it. And I'm not one of those people that believes that cables do anything different, so when I finally got a new one, I bought this cheap $6 shit off Amazon, which again, I tell you not to buy cheap shit. I tell you not to buy the cheap crap all the time. And what do? I buy the cheap crap. And what happens to the cheap crap cable? I connect it to the TV that used to work in 4K, and now it only works at 1080p. So it does look like shit. But you'll live with it. So what I did here is I Control F on the schematic, and then I searched for Wi-Fi. So let's do that here. Wi-Fi. So there, I see this by the SMC, I see a little, what is it, pull up or a pull down resistor, and then that's kind of boring to me. I want to see a Wi-Fi circuit. That's what I'm looking for here. Oh, fuck off with that shit. All right. So let's see. Where do I see? Again, this is just a list of crap. Okay, so this is something that looks like, here we go, airport. Here we go. All right. So let's take a look here. Now in the schematic, there are going to be parts that say something called critical. So you're going to see sometimes components that say critical by them. So right here, I see airport. My Bluetooth mouse decided to die because I am doing a video. That is funny. Okay, so Bluetooth mouse is dead. Still recording, making sure of that. Yeah, so my whole setup is just one kludged together mess. All right, so over here you have the inductor. Over here you have a transistor, and it's called critical. And it says PP3V3 WLAN. So as I said, PP, just consider that power. The V, consider that a decimal point. And the underscore and whatever's after it, that's just the computer's, the schematic's way of telling you that's what this power is for. So this is 3.3 volts of power for wireless LAN. Again, use your brain a little to guess what WLAN means. And right in front of it is a critical transistor. So we measured both sides of this resistor. I got 3.3 on one side, I got 0 on the other. And that's how I assumed that it was an issue with the power that is going to the Wi-Fi. Alrighty, let's see what we get here. So I have 3.3 volts on both sides of the Wi-Fi card now. Yeah, you didn't get to see that because of the camera zoom. Oh, multimeter probes. So this is important stuff. I should have pointed this out. I'm definitely going to do a video review of this stuff later. So this is standard multimeter probes, right? Check this out. You get these things for $7 or $8 on Amazon. Now you have micro probes that are so good that you can actually get underneath the plugged-in Wi-Fi connector. You see this? And I can measure the inductor. So I got 3.3 volts on that side. And on the other side, if again with the Wi-Fi thing plugged in, I can measure this because these probes are so small. I got 3.3 on the other. So I'm logging into the guest user account with the customer's drive. And it is freezing because his drive is probably dying, which is something I will happily inform him of. By happily inform him of, I mean hand it to the sales guy to inform him of, because that is his job. So one of the cool things about my business is I have a dedicated person for unpleasant conversations. So all of that, like you know, oh, good news, we fixed this problem, bad news, you have another problem, all that kind of shit is somebody else's department. So again, the thing is, it's just about trust with repair shops. Like, nobody trusts the mechanic, nobody trusts the computer repair guy. No, everybody thinks that they're out to get screwed. But from our standpoint, it's like, you paid me to replace a Wi-Fi card and or a Wi-Fi circuit. And hard drives are devices that die at any given time for no reason. Like, the fact that this technology is still getting used, the fact that this crap OLA is still getting used in 2014 is nothing short of a joke. I mean, it's a fucking spinning disc with a little arm that gets put inside of a device that is moved around, that they tell you that if you move this around, you will mess it up. So, I mean, it's kind of a joke that you have hard drives as a technology in 2014. It's like somebody fucked up somewhere and just got lazy and complacent. It's kind of like how we're still dependent on oil-based gasoline for motor vehicles. Like, it's that level of shame. But yeah, so one of the things about my business is, like, when we have these kind of issues, or it's like, you know, your battery was fine when you brought it. It took you 3 weeks to pick up, and within those 3 weeks, your battery actually exploded inside your computer. Like, honestly, I could explain it to somebody. I could explain how that happened over a period of 15, 20, 30 minutes, and they're going to leave okay with it. But that's going to take away from the time I have to do this. So I'm going to do one of two things. I'm going to brush it off very quickly in 90 seconds because I don't want to deal with it, and they're going to hate me. Or I'm going to explain that to them over 20 or 30 minutes and not get any repairs done. And this is one of the reasons that a lot of repair shops get these things where these bad reviews for poor communication, because they either they don't communicate with people on the repairs because they're too busy communicating on all the other miserable crap, like your drive died while we were doing this and it has nothing to do with us. So they don't have time to actually do the repairs in the time frame they said they would. Or they get all the repairs done in the right time frame, but when it comes time to have those difficult conversations and go on and explain everything and make the customer feel like they're cared for and they're not getting screwed over, when it comes time to have that 20-minute conversation, they have a 90-second conversation so they can get back to work. Again, it's not like all the people who do this are evil. They just kind of choose their compromises. So one of the things I did when my business got to the point where we had a lot of these jobs is I actually hired somebody who has all the knowledge of a technician, so he knows everything that the techs know. He's as good enough that he could actually sit here and do half of the stuff that I do, but I pay him a technician salary, which again is higher than, let's say, a customer service salary. I pay him a technician salary to be a technician who knows all this stuff, but his primary job function is that of a salesman. But anyway, going back to work, you don't give a fuck about how my business works or any of that shit. You care about seeing the Wi-Fi work. So check it out. So as you can see, my Wi-Fi here in the guest account works perfectly fine. So this is my Wi-Fi that I have here at the store. It's the only Wi-Fi that shows up because, as you can see, I did not plug the antennas in. And I'm going to go visit a website with it, which I would, even though the router is about a good 6 feet away, I'd still be surprised if it works because there's no antennas plugged in. I'm opening Safari, which is insanely slow because this machine has a dying drive. That's one of the other things about Apple as well. Like, you never see Western Digital black drives in these computers. You never see, you know, those Seagate solid-state hybrid hard drives in these computers. Never. And they're expensive. You see these, you see these junk drives, you look up the drives that Apple includes in these machines, you look it up, and they are the worst drive that you can buy. Like, it'll benchmark worse than every other hard drive in the market. It's all about making the thing as cheap as possible. So I went to google.com and it worked. So my work here is done. If the guy's nice, I may just wind up giving him a drive, since he's paying for the board repair and a battery, and, you know. Sometimes we do that. Sometimes if people are paying for a lot of stuff, we'll give them one small thing on the house just to be nice about it. And we don't use these crappy drives. So yeah, alright. So my work is done here. So again, just to go back over this, I had no Wi-Fi. The problem wound up being that a critical part of the machine that is literally labeled critical on the schematic was missing. So you go up here and you see that there is an inductor that leads to a transistor that's labeled critical that is in the Wi-Fi page of the schematic, and this is PP3V3_WLAN. That means power of 3.3 volts to wireless LAN, Wi-Fi. LAN is internet, WLAN is wireless internet. And that is pretty much that. The job is done. I just got to put the new card in. Again, he's paying for the board repair. I'm not going to tell him, yeah, you got to pay for board repair and a Wi-Fi card. Now, like, if you're paying for the Wi-Fi card, I'm going to charge you for that. I got to make money for service. I have to make, you know, but if you're, because I just have to make money. But if you're getting the board repair and a battery, like, Wi-Fi card's on me. So that's pretty much that. So we replaced this inductor, and it worked. And this is very, 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 very common on these unibody boards, that this little inductor dies. It's just a common thing. And again, you hope that it's that. You hope that it's the power to the card that's missing. What you don't want is one of those PCI Express links to the rest of the machine that carries Wi-Fi to be bad, because when that's the case, you wind up just completely fucked, and and those are much more difficult to troubleshoot and really much more miserable to troubleshoot. And yeah, that's it for today. So hopefully you learned something, and that's it.